Just as a disclaimer, we want you to know that some of the movies that we will be reviewing were shot in a different time and era where people of race and sex were not treated equally. We understand this and hope you do too. The movies or anything that happened on the sets are not the views of this podcast or what this show is intended to be all about.
Exactly. And we want to give due diligence in presenting the movie and not the views of the cast or directors or anyone involved. But we also feel it's necessary to let the audience know some of the background information to get a feel for what was happening at the time of shooting the film. Again, we hope you understand that we do not agree with everything that went on, and we just want to give out the information. And with that being said, hope you enjoy the show.
When this dead hand moves, the monster created by a man they called Mad is turned loose to strike terror into the hearts of men. To shock women into uncontrolled hysteria.
Elizabeth!
To prey upon the innocence of children. This is the story you've heard about, talked about. The spine-tingling, blood-chilling story that stuns your emotions. Frankenstein.
Don't touch that!
Alright guys, but welcome back to the Universal Monsters special monthly Halloween edition that we have planned on doing.
Special awesome edition.
This was episode 2 of that. We are going to be talking about Frankenstein. We did Dracula the first episode, so if you missed it, go back. That was a really good one. So this is the second one. So with these, we're not taking a lot of time. We did take a little bit more time in the first one to explain a little bit of the background of the Universal Monsters, some of the characters, some of the movies. So if you listen to that, you'll get it. This. We're just basically talking about the movies because there's so many of them that we want to get done. So
exactly.
Terrence, before we start, the first thing I want to say is, wow, the introduction to this movie that actually Van Helsing, the guy that played Van Helsing, comes out and says, look, here's the movie. This is your last chance to leave before, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, that is really neat.
Like this little warning.
Right. So I thought that was really outstanding. Well done. Prepared you for the movie. Then the credits roll. You know, and something we didn't talk about in the last episode, but in these old movies, it always shows the players. He calls them the players, which is the people in the movie. You know what I mean? And I think that is fantastic. So, Terrence, let's go ahead and just waste no time. Let's go ahead and jump into the old Frankenstein.
All right. Frankenstein.
No, it's not Dracula. It's Frankenstein. So you
go. Frankenstein release date November 21st, 1931. Budget $291,000, which is equivalent to $5 million in today's with inflation. All right. Directed by James Whale. Writing credits. Writing credits goes to, once again, lots of people, right? So John L. Balderston, based upon the composition by Mary Shelley from the novel as Miss Percy B. Shelley. Peggy Welbing, that's adapted from the play by Garrett Ford, who did the screenplay, and Francis Edward Fargo, screenplay. Richard Shayer, scenario editor. Robert Foley, contributor to treatment, uncredited, and John Russell, contributor to screenplay construction, uncredited. So not as many uncredited people. A lot more people were credited into the writing of this film than when we went over Dracula. Technical specs: runtime 1 hour and 10 minutes. Another just short, quick watch. Easy watch. Sound mix: mono, Western electric sound system. Color: black and white. Aspect ratio: 1.20 by 1. There was no re-release with this one for aspect ratio. Cameron Mitchell standard. Laboratory Universal Studios, of course. Film length: 8 reels, longer than the 6 that... Or actually, no, 9 was Dracula. Interesting. So this is only 8 reels. Negative format, 35 millimeters. Cinematographic process is spherical. And printed film format, 35 millimeters. Off to the awards. Once again, we're looking at the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films, USA. They won and were nominated for multiples of these, so I'll just name off the years. So, Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films, USA 2017.
The thing about all these monster movies is usually when you find them, they're all clumped together in a collection. Yeah. So a lot of these movies that we're talking about are all going to be in the same awards for the same DVD collection series.
Because it's the same award, and that's Best DVD / Blu-ray Collection. So this one in particular, they won in 2017. They were the winner of the Saturn Award Best DVD and Blu-ray Collection. They were nominated in 2015. They won in 2013, and they were nominated in 2005. So 2 nominees, 2 wins. Very interesting. I wonder what beat them in this flip flop of best DVD and Blu-ray collection. Heck, we might even have overlapped with a previous movie we went over. National Film Preservation Board, USA 1991, winner, National Film Registry, and Online Film and Television Association 2011, winner, OFTA Hall of Fame, Motion Picture, and then finally, Venice Film Festival 1932. They won something, but I failed to write it down.
No, actually, it's over here. It was a nominee. It was the audience referendum in competition for James Well. The synopsis of this movie, since we had such short notes, I was doing it on mine. It's a scientist makes a monster out of exhumed corpses and gives it life. It's alive. So, a little bit of interesting facts about this before we start. The filming went over 5 days, so they went over their budget of a lot of timing. It was the top movie at the box office for 1931.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is the same year Dracula came out.
Yeah. So
it beat Dracula. This is on the 1001 movies you want to see before you die, or else Frankenstein will kill you. The Universal owns the rights to the makeup by Jack Pierce till 2026 under copyright, because the makeup that he did is nothing like what Frankenstein looks like in the book. He came up with all that himself.
It's original and unique.
So there's some of the same lab machines that were used for the electricity in his observatory, whatever you want to call it, were reused in Young Frankenstein by Mel Brooks. They wanted to pay homage to him. Well, that movie's hilarious. I love Gene Wilder.
I just love Mel Brooks films. They're all genius.
Before we start talking about the movies, when the monster attacks Elizabeth in this movie, she told Boris Karloff, who was the monster, that she would be scared. He told her he would always leave a pinky out, just out of camera view, so she wouldn't be scared and said that everything would be okay. Yeah. I was like, that's pretty cool, because he looked pretty creepy.
Pretty menacing.
Mary Shelley was only 19 years old when she wrote this novel.
Oh, wow.
19.
Okay.
And in 1991, it was added to the National Film Registry. So, It's Alive. It's number 49 on the movie quotes on AFI. This is the first. I thought this was really interesting too. This was the first film to use the castle thunder. Remember how the castle shows the thunder?
Yeah,
it's the first film to use the thunder.
Really? Yeah.
And then this is to tie it back into Dracula. Bela Lugosi did a 20-minute test reel as the monster on 1931 Dracula sets with the makeup on. He does play the role of Frankenstein in Frankenstein versus the Wolfman.
Oh, okay.
So, and I can't remember. He later said that this is one of the biggest regrets that he didn't do the monster in this movie. So, it was also banned in Kansas.
Okay.
I was like, why is it banned in Kansas?
Actually, you know what? I can see why. So, there's in one scene in particular, you know, he talks about after he successfully awakes Frankenstein awakens the monster. He goes. I believe one of the quotes is. Now I know what it's like to be God.
Right.
I think there might have been sort of a controversy of, you know.
But that is just recently being added back in. When he originally says it, lightning strikes.
Oh,
and then
okay.
they edited it out with lightning, so you never even hear him say that.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's something I read up on. This was also Johnny Cash's favorite film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's 30 minutes before you actually see the monster.
That is true.
So I skipped over the cast real quick. Let's go over the cast. You had Colin Clive as Henry Frankenstein. Also wanted Leslie Howard was in the running to play it. Mae Clark played Elizabeth Lavenza. Again, Betty Davis was suggested to play the role. I mean, can you imagine if she would have got all these movies too?
Oh, I know, right?
You had John Bowles was Victor Mortz. Boris Karloff as Frankenstein's monster. And if you remember at the beginning when it says the players,
yeah,
he gets a question mark.
Yeah.
Like, really? This was actually, he needs to thank Bela Lugosi for rejecting this role because he was 44 when he got this role.
Oh, wow.
It was his start into stardom. Edward Van Sloan as Dr. Wadman, who was Van Helsing in Dracula. Frederick Kerr as Baron Frankenstein. Dwight Fry as Fritz, who was Renfield from Dracula. Lionel Belmore as Herr Vogel, the Burgomaster. Marilyn Harris as Little Maria, R.I.P.
Yeah.
And Michael Mark Ludwig as Maria's father. Now, before we go we're going through the movie, just remember this. Boris Karloff was considered such an anonymous actor by Universal Studios that he was not invited to the December 6th premiere.
Oh,
no. Are you kidding me?
He's like one of the main
the face of the
stars,
show.
and they don't invite. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cold.
Yep. So here we go. We open up with a funeral at a graveside, and you're like, oh man, this is starting off to a sad thing, you know. And you see Fritz and Frankenstein looking over the gate, you know, and they actually had a microphone lid. A microphone was placed in the coffin used in the funeral scene to amplify the sound of the grave dirt hitting the lid. So you hear that.
Oh, okay. That's,
you know.
All right.
So he's like, get down, Fritz. You know, and his hunchback's name is Fritz. It's not Igor, you know, or Igor, you know. So that was always interesting. So finally the guy ends up digging the grave and burying the casket, and then next thing you see Igor and Fritz come out there.
Yeah,
they start digging up.
And then they take out the coffin.
Yeah, and you know, so that now you see them. They got the body strapped to a cart and they're hauling it up the mountain. And then they come to a place where somebody hung themselves or something. Yeah, and it just
takes down
he's like, I gotta climb up there and just take it down. You know,
it's like, all right, and he's just like. He's like, I got it, and then he's back down.
Yeah, he cuts it
just like that.
It falls, and I was like, wow. But you remember what he says? He's like, the neck's broken. We're going to need another brain.
Exactly.
So this is Fritz to a university where he's peering in the window, you know, and the doctor's up there saying, "Now this is a normal brain, blah blah blah. You can tell the difference between this abnormal brain
and a criminal brain."
Right. So he's like, all right, class dismissed. So everybody leaves, and Fritz comes through the window.
Sneaks in the window, picks up the looks inside. Brain. He's like, all right, cool. And then he drops.
He hears a noise. He turns around. He sees that skeleton.
He
He drops the noise. He drops the
the
brain.
normal brain. He's like, the other one will do.
Which reminds me of Young Frankenstein, where he's like, when he asks him, he's like, well, because he drops the brain in that dude. He's like, well, what brain? He's like, I don't know, Abby somebody. He's like, Abby normal? Yeah, that's it. So you mean to tell me you got an abnormal brain? So, he doesn't tell Frankenstein.
No, he doesn't at all.
But you would think Frankenstein would see on the jar that said abnormal.
Right.
So I don't know what's going on. So then next you see Victor and Elizabeth talking. The background on Dr. Frankenstein.
A letter,
right?
And then they're talking about that because they're supposed to get married, but he's out doing his experiments, and he's like, "This is super important." So
right,
I'll be back.
And you come to find out that he's been kicked out of this university or whatever because he needed more bodies, and he wouldn't tell him what it was for.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So now you see the lightning and the castle with the lightning the first time ever, and there's a knock on the door while Frankenstein and Victor up here, they've got the guy sewn together. They got the monster sewn together. They got the sheet over him, and it's lightning is perfect. And so now he has visitors, and Fritz comes down the stairs, and he's like, and he's slams the door and he goes back up. And then you hear Elizabeth talking or whatever. And so finally Frankenstein comes down.
Yeah, because he peers out the window and they're like, it's pouring.
Yeah.
Just pouring rain.
Sheets
it's a
of rain.
huge storm. Because I think beforehand he's like, this storm's perfect. And he's like, it's going to be like tremendous and all this other stuff. He's super excited about the big storm coming.
Well, yeah, because he needed it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's when you find out about the extra bodies of Frankenstein. So now we're up there, and he's like, well, if you're gonna come up here, he's like, you're sitting over here, and the one guy's over there. He's like, they're like, don't touch that,
Yeah.
Fritz and all over there. So they all go over there, and they raise Frankenstein up, and the light, the strikes and all that, and so then they're sitting there, and then you just see that hand.
Oh yeah,
it's moving, and. So, it approaches pretty fast, and then next thing you see, the monster moving. So then the morning after, I think it's the Dr. Wadsworth or whoever's in there with him.
Yeah, they're talking about it.
He's like, oh, he's coming. What's going on? And you see him backing in. He's backing in, and he turns around, and that's when you get your full view of what he's created.
The monster, yep.
And looking at him, you would think, hey, he's a little slow, but he's alive, because remember he's like, "Hey, go over here."
Well, they had a conversation about it. He was like, "The brain you stole was an abnormal brain,
right.
and he's gonna be violent." And then Frankenstein's like, "It'll be fine." Like,
yeah. Well, and you thought it would be because he's like, "Sit down," and he's like, "Sit down."
Because I think he's like, I've kept him in the dark. I've kept him in the dark this whole time, and then. That's when he comes in. He's like, sit down. He sits in the chair, and then I think at one point he opens up like the shutters.
It's like a moonroof. Yeah. And the sunlight comes in, and you see Frankenstein. He stands up and he's just raising his hand up to the sky, like, "Hey, I want to go outside."
Much. It's like reaching for the light.
Which is kind of ironic because he's afraid of fire.
Yeah.
So, so you have him. Warning that he's going to be dangerous, and you see him walking around. So he holds his hands to the light, and then the communication, and then he tells Fritz. Fritz comes up there with the torch or whatever. Remember? He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. So he's like, and he starts attacking one of them, doesn't he? And then he's like, I think he attacks Frankenstein. He's like, we got to get him in the cellar.
Yeah, so they chain him up down in the cellar.
Right.
And then Fritz continues to torment him.
Fritz is sitting there with that fire, and he's like,
tormenting the crap
he's like crying.
Yeah.
You see him cowering in the corner. He's like, ha, 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 ha. That's going on and on. And
then it cuts away, and you just hear,
Next thing you know, you come down there, and he's like, Fritz. And then Frankenstein and the other guy run down there, and you open the door, and there you see Fritz hanging.
Yeah.
I was like... This took a turn for the worse real quick.
And then at one point they were like, "Yeah, he has the strength."
He's also
10 men.
Fritz is also whipping him, which I think that's what he used to hang him with. So now they that's when the doctor stabs him Remember they had with
Oh
the
yeah,
needle
with the hypodermic needle
with this fluid and whatever.
That it was supposed to kill him,
right? So they got him strapped down to this
like medical table,
right? So he said, "I'm going to dissect him."
Yeah,
the doctor did.
Well, he's like, I'll take notes.
There was there was a knock on the door too, though. So Frankenstein left to go get the door. So while he's in there, you see him. You see Frankenstein. You see him open his eyes, like, swear it out.
What's going
on?
And
so the doctor comes over there and he leans over, and he get ready to cut. And next thing you see that hand behind him just come up and just he grabs him and
yeah. More screams.
Yeah, more screams. So now you have him escape, and Frankenstein's on the run. Now, how he got out of the castle, because those shoes he wear were like the shoes that cement people wear. They weighed 13 pounds each.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, they did say he had the strength of 10 men.
Right. But how does he get out of the castle with nobody knowing?
Who knows?
Right.
Because they didn't...
But
Frankenstein didn't even realize the doctor died until the wedding.
No, because remember, he passes out when he gets attacked by Frankenstein. They take him out of there because that's when they said we're going to get married or whatever. Remember that him and Maria decide to get married, or him and Elizabeth. Sorry. So now, probably my favorite scene of the movie comes up where Frankenstein's wandering the countryside. And he runs into this girl, Maria, this little girl, and she said,
picking
she's
flowers.
like, "You want to be my friend?" Yeah, picking flowers. She's like, "Here, these are for you." And she said, "Watch, we can float." And she takes one and she throws it in the water. And Frankenstein's like, "Oh!" And he takes this and he throws it in the water. And she's like, throws another one, and he takes his last one. He throws it in the water, and she takes one, throws it in the water. And then he looks down, left. And he's like, and
he just picks her up and then throws her in the water.
Throws her in the water. And he's like, well, then he freaks out because she's not floating. She's out. But during production, there was some concern that 7-year-old Marilyn Harris, who played Maria, the little girl thrown into the lake by the creature, would be overly frightened by the sight of Boris Karloff in costume and makeup when it came time to shoot the scene. When the cast was assembled to travel to the location to shoot the scene, Marilyn ran from her car directly up to Karloff, who was in full makeup and costume, took his hand and asked, "May I drive with you?" Delighted in a typical Karloff fashion, he responded, "Would you, darling?" She then rode to the location with the monster. Also, in that scene, when he joins her in the night, but she runs out of the flowers, and at a loss for something to throw, he throws her in there. As Maria in the American print of the movie, the scene ends here. But as originally filmed, the action continues to show the monster grabbing Maria, hurling her into the lake, then departing into confusion when Maria fails to float as the flowers did. This bit was deleted because the censors objected to the violent end of the little girl. This scene is restored in the DVD release.
Okay, so I saw the DVD release.
That's what I seen too. Yeah. I seen him throw her in there.
Just toss her.
Also, the actress Marilyn Harris, who played Maria, done several takes of the drowning scene, none of which turned out quite right. Although wet and tired, she agreed to do one last take of the scene, the one that appears in the finished film. After director James Whale promised her anything she wanted if she would do so, you know what she asked for? A dozen hard-boiled eggs, which was her favorite snack. Well gave her 2 dozen. The DVD commentary for the film suggests that Harris wasn't actually a good swimmer, quoting Harris as saying she had only had a couple of swimming lessons before filming and had never dived underwater. Wow. This is going to bring me up to another point here in a minute when talking about the little girl.
Yeah.
So now, he's thrown away, and you flash back over to... is it like a pre-party to their wedding? Is that what it is?
So...
It's like a reception, but it's like a celebration.
I had a problem with the pacing was weird with this, because I couldn't...
Like this whole thing, I thought they had gotten married, and this is like the reception
they
afterwards.
were in a completely... Like, it seems that the castle is a lot... Or, wherever the keep he was doing his experiments in was a lot closer than I thought, because I thought he was in a completely different location, but it turns out, like... He's not that far, because all the monster had to do was wander for a little bit, and then he ended up right at the party,
right
where the house is.
Right.
They were talking about the wedding beforehand, because that's when they were talking about.
But it just seemed like
where's Frankenstein, yada yada yada, and then they have the I don't know if it's before or after the wedding, but I know what you're talking about. It doesn't. I don't know if they've gotten married.
Right. I was a little confused. I don't.
Well, I don't think they have yet.
No, because they all follow him down the street or something.
His father was like, there was the flowers, and he's all like, and then the flower that they put on there. Yeah, exactly. So he's like, my grandfather and I have, this has been in our family, and he puts it on Frankenstein, and then he puts it on his best man. Speaking of which, that was also out of nowhere. The sort of the best man really liking Frankenstein's fiance.
Right, but then you see Frankenstein hiding in the house. He's like, I guess that's his criminal brain coming in. You just see him like sneak into Maria's, or they hear him. Remember?
Yeah.
And they're like, he's in the house because they come and tell him.
Yeah.
And they hear him and. They go running, and then they hear him upstairs, so they go all the way up to the attic or whatever. Well, in the meantime, he has like snuck into the bride Elizabeth's room or whatever. You remember, and he swallowed her, and she doesn't even know it. She finally turns around and screams, and that's when they all come running back. Up there to see what's happening. As you hear glass shatter as Frankenstein escaped.
All right, you're talking about the monster.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I call him Frankenstein. That's what, yeah.
So, the monster, I didn't get that. I thought she was, like, on the second floor or something.
Yeah.
How
did he get from the very, very top of the house to where she is? You know what I mean?
So, that whole sort of scene confused me because I'm like, okay, I think I got the layout of this house. And then that happened. I'm like, I do not know the layout of this house. So, because he just appears on the balcony and he waltz right on in, and
right, and now you would think somebody would have seen this massive monster walking around at this big reception, but at the same time, here comes Maria's father carrying Maria, through the streets, everybody, you hear all the school kids start crying, and they're like, and he's like, she's dead, and so.
Yeah, the crowd all rowdy.
So when they bring her to the person in charge, the townsperson, they said, "What happened to her?" He's like, "She's drowned. She's been murdered." How would he know she's been murdered?
Yeah,
if she actually fell in the lake or something, she could have drowned and not been murdered.
Exactly.
And I was like, and now they're all like, well, the monster did it. They all grab the torches and everything.
Really jumping to conclusions, even though they got it right.
I mean, can we get a fair trial here? You know what I mean? I was like, wow. So, they split up, and he's like, Frankenstein, you're going this way with a group of people.
And he's like, light your torches. Right. We're going to get them.
So the mob, the torches, A little bit about the monster before we move on. I forgot to cover this, that his shoes weighed 13 pounds. And Boris Karloff offered to remove his partial bridge work to create the sunken cheek look. I was like, wow. Boris Karloff, referred to the monster as dear old boy. And the costume makeup, it took 4 hours to apply and weighed 48 pounds, the costume.
Oh, wow.
So he had the 48 pounds of costume plus the shoes at 13 pounds each.
Eesh.
And those are mistakenly called bolts on his neck. They're not bolts. They're electrodes.
Yeah.
Because most people say, the bolts on Frankenstein's neck. So now you have, of course, the monster in the mountain. You know what I mean? Yep. So you have, then they split up, and then Frankenstein somehow breaks away from his group. He climbs up a rock.
Well, they actually break away from him because he's like, this way, and they're not listening. They're just doing their mob thing, and he's just like, all right, whatever. So then he continues to climb.
And then you see Frankenstein just looking up.
Then he bumps him. Then Frankenstein, peeks over and he's looking around, and then the monster gets to drop on him.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed is that he has his torch, and then when Frankenstein and him are struggling, he drops his torch or whatever.
Yeah.
And Frankenstein throws him down. He lands on that torch, he sits on that torch. He jumps up real quick. I was like, man, it's gonna be bad. So basically, Frankenstein knocks him out.
And then he drags him over to the windmill.
He's dragging him to the windmill, right? There's
a scene right after. It shouldn't have been funny, but it was hilarious. When they're struggling up on the balcony of the windmill, and then he throws Frankenstein, and then they show this doll falling, and it falls right on like one of the windmill
fans,
and then it just falls. And it just then it cuts to actually him, you know what I mean? Then he's just on the ground, like,
Well, here's the thing, okay?
And I was like, he's got to be dead after that, and he's not.
Get this. According to the film historian Gregory Mank, director James Whale was jealous of the attention Boris Karloff's monster was getting during production and took revenge by making the actor carry Colin Clive, which is Frankenstein, up the mountain to the mill in a take after take dozens of times.
Oof.
I mean, he has all that weight on him, 48 pounds.
Yeah.
Clive felt badly for his co-star and suggested that a dummy be used. Well refused, and Karloff continued to have to carry Clive's 6 foot, 154-pound body in succeeding takes.
Wow.
Which resulted in permanent back injury that he suffered with the rest of his life.
Oh, jeez.
I mean,
some pettiness.
Because he's getting more,
more screen time.
Well, I mean, the director.
Yeah.
What do you expect? It's a monster movie. Who do you think they're going to like more?
Right.
So then we get to the windmill, they bring him in there, and I noticed right away that when they open the door, that thing drops and locks behind him, so he's done for. So he throws it, so he keeps dragging him up higher, he goes to one level, then he goes to the top level, and he sets him down, and he looks outside, they all got the torches, oh, there he is, and they get the battering ram, they're trying to ram the door
they're trying to get through the door.
Next thing you see, Frankenstein wakes up, and then the spinning things in there, they're looking around each other.
Oh, yeah, he's like trying to run away.
He finally gets his hand on him, and that's when he tosses him over the side and hits the thing. You know what I mean? It hits the fan, and then he falls down. And then, to top it off, he's not dead. They're like, hey, we need to get him back to town.
Right? I really thought he was. Like, after that happened, I'm like, wow, Frankenstein is dead.
I was like, what just happened? And they're like...
And then he's fine.
Yeah, they're like, oh, he'll be okay. Let's get him back to town. And I was like, what? So then you have probably one of the saddest moments in movie history, monster movie history, is when they start burning because he's afraid of fire.
Oh yeah,
and they light that windmill on fire, and to me, what was ironic is you seen him raise his hands to the light. Remember when they pulled the thing back at the beginning of going up to the sun, and now you have the fire. And he's throwing his hands up like, oh no.
Yeah. And then the pillar falls on him.
Yeah, and he runs back in trying to get out, and then like one of the beams fall and crush him, so now he's done for. So basically he burned to death.
Yeah.
So then the ending, you have you open the door and you see Frankenstein and Elizabeth in there, and he's in the bed, recovering, and those ladies come in with the wine or whatever. It's like, oh, and her dad's like, oh, this, I'll take that, it's some of the best, whatever. And this is the end. And I'm like, this is how you're going to end Frankenstein?
Yeah, because he's like, give him some brandy.
Right.
And then he drinks some. And then, that was the end.
Yeah, and I was like, I was waiting for...
more?
Well, see, like a lot of these movies, like Dracula and this one so far, you're waiting for closure, just a good ending. And I don't know if some of that was lost during the cutscenes or if it was... over time, over budget, or is that just how they chose to end it to award sequels?
Yeah.
I don't know. So, Terrence, hit me with your Frankenstein.
Another interesting Universal classic movie, monster movie. I would say, between the two that I've watched so far, Dracula and this, of the two, I like Dracula better. Like I said, there was a lot of more confusion with this one than there was with Dracula, as far as locations and different things and falling out of a windmill and being fine.
Still alive.
And from what I remember from the book, it seems to change a lot from the book. I mean, I don't have to come out and say it because that always goes without saying that usually the book's better, right? But in this particular movie, I felt a lot was lost between the book and the movie. But it was enjoyable. A little slower than Dracula. The two parts that were serious I found hilarious just because of, the time it's filmed and how they went about it. And, obviously that's him throwing the girl in the water.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be funny.
It wasn't. No, it's a very serious moment.
But, you see him, wig out. He's like, whoa!
And he just runs away. And then the windmills. I can't get over the windmill scene.
Yeah. Actually, the dummy that was used to throw off the windmill.
Yeah.
Is allegedly reported to be the same dummy used to hang Fritz, the Fritz dummy.
Really?
That when
Yeah.
Dracula or Frankenstein hung him. And also the guy at the beginning that's hanging that they take and said his name.
Same dummy.
So they just reuse the same dummy allegedly. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
That makes sense if they did.
Yeah, I like Frankenstein. Dracula is always more iconic, I think, but you can't help but feel bad for Frankenstein in this movie because he's trying to be good. He's he just don't understand.
Well,
like the flower scene with Maria. That's probably the most iconic scene. I mean,
oh yeah.
And to have that little girl not know how to swim and only had a couple of swimming lessons to do that's pretty big.
And here's one where I would say my favorite portrayal of Frankenstein and his monster is actually from a series called Penny Dreadful.
That was a very crazy take on it.
It was an insane take, but I really liked it.
Well, because the monster's not who you think it is.
You thought it was and
it's
then
actually the second one that he created.
And I thought that was interesting because you kind of see that in this movie as far as like, some of those elements that they take, and that's he didn't teach him anything. He just gave him life and then kind of abandoned him.
Well, because to top it all off, it's all because Fritz and his stupid torch.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even Frankenstein had the torch. Somebody had the torch at the beginning, and because he wasn't afraid of the light. You know what
exactly.
I mean? So,
but you can think in like in a short time span.
But kind of me wonders if it doesn't say how the person died whose body they used.
That's true.
Could he have been burned alive? You know what I mean?
You just know he was a criminal,
right? You don't know. So I don't know if that played a role in it. But I think the story it was well told. It's just like the Lady in White and Dracula. The whole reception wedding.
His father, the Baron.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, something's not right. Unless it was like one of those things. Well, hey, we're going to get married now. You're done experimenting. Let's go get married. Right away.
Yeah. Maybe.
But I enjoyed it. Another easy watch.
Yeah. I mean, it's a quick, easy watch.
Just for the Maria scene, if nothing else. So there you have it. That is Frankenstein. Like I said, these episodes will be shorter. We're just going to get in, talk about the movie, get out. There will be no silly, goofing off like we usually do.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say that, but I mean, as far as like questions and all that. Allegedly, I will be filming or recording the next two with some guys at work, which will be the Wolfman and the Mummy. If that doesn't come through, then Terrence and I will be doing. We'll be covering those, but they'll be later. If not, if they do, then me and Terrence will be doing The Invisible Man and The Creature from the Black Lagoon. So be on the lookout. The Halloween Universal Monsters Oktoberfest is still trudging along. So with that being said, I think that's a wrap. And cut.